Hello, everybody. This is Servet Hassan. The name of the show is Intuitive Inc. Welcome. Thank you so much. I've been getting so much support from all of you, my fans, my friends, family, everybody. Thank you so much. This is like probably the 6th or 7th show, so I haven't done that many, but it's been going so well, and I've been getting so much good feedback from all of you. I really appreciate it. And today we have another really great show for you. I am so honored and blessed today to have Karen Noe on the show with me. She is a renowned New Jersey-based psychic medium, a spiritual counselor, not unlike myself, but she's also a healer. She has thousands, literally thousands of clients, and a 2-year waiting list that goes with that. But we'll talk to her about that. She also does a show, so I don't know if she takes calls and you can get to her perhaps that way. Anyway, she's also an author, hence the Inc. part of Intuitive Inc. She's the author of 3 books. I think they're all with Hay House. The Rainbow Follows the Storm, How to Obtain Inner Peace by Connecting with Angels and Deceased Loved Ones. Through the Eyes of Another, a medium's guide to creating heaven on earth by encountering your life review now, which I'm really interested in talking to her about because I do think we all do get a life review, and it's important that we take care of that now while we're living and not when we're dead. And her 3rd book is Your Life After Their Death, a medium's guide to healing after a loss. She's also the founder of the Angel Quest Center in Ramsey, New Jersey, where she teaches classes, she gives readings, and practices alternative healing. You can listen to Karen on her own radio show, The Angel Quest, by turning to www.wrcr.com. I said that really fast, but she's going to repeat all that as we go along. It's on the first Saturday of every month at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time. She also has a website, which is KarenNoe.com. I'm going to spell her name. It's Karen, but Noe is Noe. So it's all one word, KarenNoe.com. And again, she'll repeat that for you as the show goes on. Welcome, Karen. Thank you.
Hi. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great, too. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. I'm always interested in speaking to other authors. You took the time to talk to me, which is great. As I said, you have thousands of clients and, a 2-year waiting list. That's very impressive. How do you handle, first of all, how do you handle that?
Well, I had to stop taking new clients because I didn't know what I was doing in 2 years. So the people who come to see me always want to come back. So at that point, They still have to wait 2 years to come to see me again.
Well,
so I had to stop and say, only if it's an emergency will I take a new client. And in that case, we'll do a healing because I do alternative healing and everything like that. I wish I could be there for every single person. That's why I'm writing and speaking, and hopefully I could reach more people that way.
Right. And with classes, too, I'm sure, if you can.
Classes, yes. I have a center in Ramsey, and I also travel the country. For my book, I can do events for Hay House as well as other events, and it's very exciting to get the word out there.
Well, great. Yes, that's great. How did you? I know it has something to do with the Italian luce lucina, and I want to hear how that's part of how you got started, right?
It is. People ask me if I've always been psychic. Mm-hmm. And the answer is yes, but not to the extent that I am now. When I was younger, my father used to take me to the racetrack. And I picked the winning horses for him. Oh, my gosh. But then, and my friends used to say I freaked them out because I would say things, somebody was going to turn the corner, things like that, silly things. I thought it was normal. I thought everybody did that. But maybe it's about 20 years now. About 20 years ago, I was going through a very rough time in my life. And I sat at the edge of my bed and I just yelled at God. And I said, just let me know, am I going to be okay? And with that, I saw a light that came towards me from the other side of the room. And as it was coming towards me, my first response was, if you're not of God, please leave.
Right, good.
But the more I said that, the more it kept coming towards me, and it eventually enveloped me. And the most peaceful, incredible feeling came over me. I can't even put it into words. I've never experienced that before. And at that time, I heard an audible voice that said, Luce Lucina, Bella Luce Lucina. And for those Italian listeners, it means light, beautiful little light. And to make a long story short, I've since learned that was St. Francis of Assisi, and you'll notice, those who've read my books, I've always incorporated peace and love and animals in there somehow, because he's one of my guides, and he has been since that incident.
Right.
And ever since then, I started feeling angels and deceased loved ones. And I didn't want to share the messages at first because I didn't want people to think I was not in my right mind. But the more I did share the messages, the more word spread, and the rest is history. So I just, reluctantly at first, but now I love doing what I'm doing.
Right. Well, that's awesome. I really think it's amazing. I understand exactly what you're saying, though, too, because people would look at me funny when I would say, oh, yes, you know, I know I heard a person that was very close to me after they passed away. I almost got hit by a car. And I heard them say to me, and I mean, literally, it stopped like at half an inch. I could feel the heat from the engine. It stopped so close.
Oh, my goodness.
And my dog looked up at me, and I looked at my dog. And the gardeners across the street were screaming because they thought I was going to get hit. And I heard very clearly, I heard this person say to me, it's not your time.
Wow.
And I never told anybody because I thought, geez, you know, and the other strange thing with this particular person is 6 months before he passed away, I dreamt that he passed away. Because I was standing on a street and it was raining and there were these beautiful trees and I was looking up and I kept saying, how am I going to live without you? How am I going to live without you? In my dream. So when I woke up, I thought he was cheating or something, that he was just going to leave, like have an affair or something and leave, or just.
Right.
So,
but you didn't, right?
Well, so I'm 36 years old at the time, so I get in my car and start following him around at night. You know, so after a couple of days, I'm like, okay, this is stupid. So I just forgot about it, and then 6 months later, he passed away, and I was standing on that exact same corner with the same trees, wearing the same thing, looking up in the sky, and I was saying, how am I going to live without him? It was, you know, and I stopped telling people about that kind of stuff because it freaked them out. And then later on, I realized that it could help people. And so
it absolutely could.
Right.
Sure.
So I do a lot of psychic. Well, I actually do spiritual counseling more than anything. But I've learned, and maybe you can expand on this, not to hold anything back anymore. You know, just whatever hits you, go with it, no matter how silly it sounds, because I've had some very strange things come out of my mouth, and it doesn't make any sense. And then I say to them, look, you know, I'm just a conduit. I'm just a mouthpiece. I'm just getting I'm just going to give you, you know, whatever. Like my girlfriend called me and said her daughter was going to have a baby, and this was in December, and she said, you know, somewhere in April. And I said, April 26th. And she said, what?
Wow,
I said, April 26th. And, you know, sure enough, the baby was born on April 26th, and she's scared of me now.
Oh, she's scared of you. Do you find this too? Your intuitive hits, they come quickly, and then when you think about it too much, you know, maybe that doesn't make any sense, and then you think about it, then it changes. Well, and that's what I would tell the listeners, to trust your gut feeling at first. Right? Right.
You know, I have a theory, and I mean, tell me what you think of this. I think psychic ability is where people reach into an energy field and they pull back some energy information, and then they can interpret it. And if they're really good psychics, they'll leave their intellect out of it.
Right.
And if
exactly.
Right.
Yes.
And if they're not, then there's some room for error, you know?
Right.
And like you could feel like, oh, someone's feeling movement in that energy, and then you could say, oh, you're moving, but when actually they're going to buy a new car or go on a cruise or something, because they thought about it with their intellect. And then to me, intuition is completely different. I think everybody on the planet has intuitive ability, because
absolutely,
like you have instinct for your body. Your mind has instinct. It knows to breathe. It knows when to sleep. It knows when to digest your food. And I've said this a million times before. If I had to digest my breakfast, I'd be dead, because I just don't know how to do that, but your instinct knows. And that's a spontaneous reaction of your mind. And I think intuition is a spontaneous reaction of your soul. Everybody has it, and it's your direct connection to a higher source, divine intelligence, God, love, whatever you want to call it. It's your higher, it's that power, that part of who you are that knows everything. And if you really listen to that and really connect with that, it will never, ever, 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 ever be wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I wish everybody would realize that, that they have that power within them.
Yeah, it goes along with what you said. They have to trust.
Right.
Right? Trust in themselves. So
it usually happens when they get this one, like you had. Mm-hmm. Not everybody gets a voice or something like that, but they usually get something that triggers everything, and they say, maybe I am doing this.
Well, what do you get, Karen? Do you hear it? Do you see it? Is it a combination of everything?
Yeah, it's a combination. For the most part, I receive messages as thoughts, if that makes sense. It pops in my mind. The name, the message. Mm-hmm. People say, do I hear a voice? Not necessarily. Once in a while I'll hear a voice or see an apparition of a loved one. But for the most part, it comes as a clairsentience, as thoughts.
Right.
As feelings.
Well,
as feelings.
I did read somewhere where you were talking about how you got a message from a friend of yours had lost quadruplets, I believe.
Yes.
And you actually got a message from her grandmother. Is that right?
Yes. Okay. Well, she actually was one of my first clients when I first, after the incident with the light. Her name is Christy.
Wow.
And still one of my favorite clients. In the beginning, unfortunately, the first time she came, her quadruplets came through. She lost quadruplets, and I said, I see 4 babies. I don't know if this makes any sense. She said, yes, I lost 4 babies, quadruplets. Mm-hmm. And her grandmother was coming through with these messages saying that she was with the babies and all of that. So right after that incident, Christy was trying to get pregnant again, and to no avail. But I was meditating one day, and all of a sudden I felt Christy's grandma, and she said, Christy's pregnant. I said, oh, my goodness, Christy's pregnant. Yay. So I called her up. I said, Christy, are you pregnant? And she said, not that I'm aware of. So I said, okay. I went to lunch, and a car cut me off, and on the license plate it said 2 quads. Wow. So I said, okay, she's going to have twins. 2 of the quads are going to come back, because that was I call it a without a doubt sign, which we could talk about later if you want. Mm-hmm. But there's signs that without a doubt it's a message. So to make a long story short, Christy was indeed in the family way, and she had since given birth to twins, a boy and a girl, and I think they're about 10 now, something like that, 10 or 11. So doing wonderfully. Yeah.
I love that story. So you get messages in all kinds of ways that.
Yes. Crazy things.
Well, I think the crazier, the more accurate.
The better. Yeah, then they know without a doubt. Again, the funnier or the more that I think, oh my God, that couldn't mean, it can't mean anything. That's when they really do mean something. That's when they would say, oh boy.
Yeah, like the license plate. I love that story. That's why I made you tell it.
That's what I would tell people to look for, without a doubt, signs from your loved ones. And they come in many forms, whether it be you're driving and a car cuts you off and the license plate is your loved one's birthday or a message for you, their name, or a bird or a ladybug, a butterfly land on you, peck at your window, scream at you. There's so many. You smell your loved one's perfume, you hear their voice, you dream of them. It could go on and on. Right. But they want to let us know that they're with us. And, we have to just pick up. It's usually something that you can't miss.
That's
it happens that something that normally doesn't happen, right?
Right. Like I get books that hit me in the head all the time. Things like that. Yeah, it's true. I'm walking in a bookstore and suddenly, bam, it's like, okay, I guess I got to look at this.
I love that. Literally. Pay attention. You're supposed to read this one.
Right. So that's what you're saying is a without a doubt sign that
Yes, you can't doubt that. And then some people, even if they're getting these signs, they'll rationalize it and say, but that's a big coincidence. And, once you start doing that, then your loved one will stop giving you messages because they're trying. and you're not paying attention. So they actually do this for all of us, not just mediums, not just those who are psychic. Actually, we're all psychic, but
right.
These signs come to all of us. All we need to do is to ask our loved one for a sign, and then be patient and wait, and it'll come when you least expect it.
Right. Okay, so that said, do you think our loved ones are all there somewhere? Or what about like reincarnation and that kind of thing?
Well, yes, they do. They choose whether or not they want to come back again. Many times they wait for their significant others and then they come back all at the same time. That's what the messages that I receive. They wait. But every now and then, if somebody's not coming through, could be that they came back, in another life. It could be that they moved on. It doesn't happen often. And sometimes the living loved one doesn't want to hear from them. So then they don't come through. But that's the only way that they wouldn't come through. You can't make them, by the way, come through. They might be doing something else. They can't be in more than one place at one time. And how I figured this one out, and it could be maybe I figured it out in the wrong way, but I was doing a reading for someone, and her father was coming through, and I was giving her all the messages from her father, and the father, everything made sense, and then finally at the end the father said, "Leave ladder," and then all of a sudden he left. And I said, "What?" I said, "He said leave ladder," and the woman, the living loved one, said, "I don't know what that means." Well, the next day I received a phone call from her. And she said at the time of our appointment, her sister fell off a ladder. So I assumed that the father went with the sister, and he couldn't be in more than one place at one time. Maybe I'm looking into it. Maybe he just felt he had to go, but that's when I said, maybe they can't be in more than one place at one time. I know angels can be in more than one place at one time, but angels are different than loved ones.
Okay. How are angels different?
Angels have never been here in a body before.
Okay.
We have guardian angels, all of us, from the moment we're born till we pass, and even afterwards. There are archangels that could be in more than one place at one time with more than one person at a time, such as Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. There's many angels for different purposes, and they want to be with us. They just wait for us to ask for their help, such as Michael takes away negativity. And Archangel Raphael is the healing angel. So if you need help with healing or taking away negativity, you would call upon one of these angels. And they don't have, like a personality as a person who's lived here before. So a living loved one, as they come through, they come through with the same personality as they did when they were here. So if they were funny, they were still funny when they come through.
Or if they were dumb as a plank, they're still dumb as a plank, right?
Yeah, correct. And it's really, I'm glad you said that. Most people say, well, what does my father say about this? And I'll say, well, did you ask him when he was here on Earth? And would you listen to him? And they say, well, no. I said, well, after they cross, yes, they gain knowledge. They see the bigger perspective, but they still retain the same personality as they were when they were here. So what I would say is ask your angels, ask your higher self for these answers,
Right. Well, most people, this is all very interesting to me because I think the majority of people out there believe that, when we pass on, and we may have a period of time where we review everything and, but then we become angels. And I think it's interesting that you separate the two, that angels have not been here before. And now, do you think then that we all have kind of a contract that we came here to learn something, and we're with the same people over and over again in different aspects because we
We'll come back if we have to learn forgiveness or something with another person. We'll attract them in our lives. We'll come back and try to learn those, resolve those issues. But that's what I would tell people is after we pass, we go through a life review where we're able to see how we've affected other people through their eyes.
Right, and so that's the name of that's the name of one of your books. Sorry to interrupt. It's called "In Through the Eyes of Another." Yes,
exactly. And so what happens is you're able to see good or bad. You're seeing through the other person's eyes how you affected them. Oh. So a lot of times, and how I wrote the second book, Through the Eyes of Another, because of all the many years of doing readings, time and time again through the readings, a loved one would come through and say, please forgive me for whatever it is. I hit you over the head with a mirror.
Right.
Or I should have forgiven you for leaving me, something like that. Mm-hmm. I should have told you how much I loved you. So all these regrets the loved one is coming through with, I should have, could have, would have.
Right.
I say, why do you have to wait until it's too late, until you pass, to come through and say, I'm sorry, or I should have told you how much I loved you?
Right.
Why don't you do it right here and right now? Tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. Ask forgiveness if you hurt them, and forgive those who hurt you as well. And don't wait. And, oh, by the way, after we pass, we also are able to see how we affected ourselves as well. So if we didn't treat ourselves with the respect that we deserve, we'll feel that as well.
Now,
so make sure to treat yourself nice.
Right. Well, that's important because I believe that everything in our life is dependent on how much we love and honor ourselves too. And not in a selfish, egotistical way, but in a just accepting way. So we don't, that we love ourselves,
We're just as important as everybody else. We have to remember that. We're not less important. So if we remember that, we'll love ourselves. And if we don't love ourselves, we can't love anybody else.
Right, yeah, right. I know I get asked a lot at lectures that I do what I think the most important thing is to learn. And I think everyone expects me to say love. And that is important, but I always say self-worth. Because your capacity to love someone and to be abundant, to be anything, comes from your own perception of self. And that if you love yourself first, so it is kind of love, but it's more loving yourself. Now,
how funny, I'm just writing my next book, and I'm on a chapter about self-love. See how things like that work out?
What is the name of your next book so we can look for it, too?
It'll be out next year with Hay House, called The We Consciousness. I'm actually, long story short, but I've been in contact with Wayne Dyer and his family. His family come to see me, and I'm actually doing classes with them.
Wow.
In
I
June.
just got goosebumps. Now, for people that don't know out there, Wayne Dyer passed away last August?
Yes, August 30th.
So is this you're connecting with his spirit and his
family
and you? Or?
It's been, I've never in my wildest dreams, because he was my idol, so through a series of synchronistic events, his family were guided to come to see me. Of all people, this is my chapter on insignificance, right?
Right.
And I say, why me? Why me? And he said, why did you choose me? So it was just goes back and forth. But because the messages were so clear for him, it wasn't what he would say in the lectures, because that's what I was worried about, because I watched him, I read his books, I watched him speak.
Right.
And I said, well, if they're coming to see me, you better come through with some things, And I cannot share them other than if you go to my website.
Right.
The children themselves, there's a few testimonials about the readings that they've received, the messages that they received. Serena,
and
they've all been. I know them all.
That's
so
Karen Noe. That just so you mentioned your website. It's Karen Noe. It's KarenNoe.com. I want people to go there. I mean, this is fascinating to me. So he's been an idol of yours forever. I mean, Wayne. I've read. I don't think I've missed one Wayne Dyer book. I've read them all, and yes, because it's part of my profession, so I do read everything, and I do believe that he's probably one of the most genuine of the self-help, whatever you want to call them. He's very genuine. He's very down to earth. He's not about keep buying my books so I can make more money kind of thing. He's not. It's not spiritual consumerism, because he really
what that is? He says, how may I serve?
That's
right.
How may I
serve?
That's why.
That's why.
Now,
and that's what I try to do as well.
Are you going to, me too, actually, that's the highest state of being you can ever be in anyway, so is to serve others, and then everything seems to go right anyway, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Now, are you channeling him? Is that how it's?
Oh my goodness, it's such a crazy thing, but yes, I am. I have we guides now. It's this we consciousness. Well, to make a long story short, I went to speak in Orlando for the I Can Do It event, and Serena Dyer sat next to me on the bus. Mm-hmm. There was one seat left, and she sat next to me, and the rest was history after that. But I felt very insignificant. That's where we're talking about self-love, and I'm like, why me? I just didn't feel. This can't be true, and is it really you? So I received so many without a doubt signs that you couldn't say no. But the fact, as I was stating before, when they eventually came from Florida to see me in New Jersey, mm-hmm. And when they came, and the message was for each of them, I had 3 of his daughters and his wife came to see me. These messages, I knew without a doubt myself that it couldn't be anybody but him, because only he would know what he was saying. Only he and his children would know these things. So with that said and done, if that makes sense, what he's talking about, he was so excited about the afterlife as well as the messages. He said, do you want to hear personal messages, or do you want to hear about the afterlife? He was so excited. And they said, no, personal messages. So he goes, all right, then you write the book about the we consciousness. And what that is, it's that we're all connected. We're all one.
We are.
And there's 33 concepts to the we consciousness.
And is he giving you those 33 concepts?
Correct.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
33. But there's a bunch. I also have, it's him and a few other of my guides, including St. Francis and a few other angels as well. So I call them my we guides.
Well, he was a big fan of St. Francis, too.
That's why. That's one of the reasons. I said, why me? And that was one of them. And I said, how may I serve? How may I serve? And then all of a sudden, here he comes.
Wow.
But this is the best part of everything, and I want to tell the listeners, it's not about Wayne Dyer coming to Karen Noe. Mm-hmm. Wayne Dyer could come to anybody who asks, because he was large in life, but he's even larger now in death. Mm-hmm. And this is what I'm trying to teach everybody. I'm listening and I'm hearing him, but all you need to do is ask and he'll be there.
Well, that's interesting. That's great.
Yeah.
Well,
mm-hmm.
yeah, I think we can, we can really touch base with anyone if we want to. I mean, it's just a matter of asking, like you said, but also being accepting of that being who it is. I have chills and goosebumps and everything else when you started with this whole Wayne Dyer thing. This is going to be fascinating. It's really, so you're literally going to be going out there. There's the book that you're finishing now, and then you'll be out there actually giving lectures and talks like he did, except and letting his messages come through. I'm even moving my hand the way he used to,
Yes, I do that too. I'm like, what am I doing
here? You can't see me because I'm on radio.
I'm
actually
going to be teaching on June 5th a class with Sage, Sky, and Marceline. Will be here in New Jersey where we're giving a class about life after death and their signs from their dad and what's happened after he passed. So it's fascinating. They're also going to be on my radio show this for Saturday of next month and the next following month as well.
Well, good. So, and this is the Angel Quest Center you're talking about, right?
We had to get a hotel because there's too many people. They couldn't fit in my office. So it's going to be at the Wycliffe Lake Hilton. I don't know if there are any people that are listening from New Jersey, but if you go to my website, it will have the information about it. I have people flying from all over to see this.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They don't just have to live in New Jersey. I'm sure there's a lot of people. There's a lot of Wayne Dyer fans out there that are everywhere that will come. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. This is a whole new adventure for you, isn't it?
It is, and I'm glad about it because I love connecting the living loved ones with their deceased loved ones. Mm-hmm. But I was missing my connection to self-empowerment and angels and all of that, the afterlife, the bigger perspective, and all of a sudden this happened. So it was good timing. But I'll still do the other things as well, of course.
Well, yes, I know. But I think it's interesting. And we lost someone else, too, not very long ago, who I know Wayne Dyer was also a big fan of as well, was Stuart Wilde.
Yes,
passed.
I know.
Do you get messages from anybody like that as well, or no?
I don't. I did. I had the biggest connection with Wayne, even though I didn't know him personally. But when he was physically here on Earth, I just, as you said, I read all his books and, went to all his lectures and everything. I was following him. So perhaps that's why I'm really connecting with him, his spirit.
Right, exactly. Well, I was just going to ask you that if you had actually ever met him in person.
I did, but not as if he would say, "Who's Karen Noe?" He would not know. Even though we're fellow Hay House authors, no, he wouldn't know it. He knows me now.
No, I know what you mean, because I published 3 books with Llewellyn Worldwide Publishers, and I know Marianne Williamson endorsed one of my very first books, but, she wouldn't know me if she fell over me, she wouldn't.
But that's beautiful that you were able to get her to endorse your book.
I did, and it was a fluke thing, too. I was at one of the lectures and said, I'll just leave it, hope that something, you never know,
Wow.
They don't do that
that's
anymore.
Amazing.
Now I don't think that they would pick it up, but back then it worked. So you never know, you just never know.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be. This is a great new chapter for you, and I have a really good feeling about it, just on my own psychic.
Thank you.
I really do.
I'm very excited about it, very excited. And then again, I have that self-love, like, oh, why me? Why not? Why not, right?
Well,
Absolutely.
Why not you? I mean, really? I've done lectures and classes where I'd say, well, who is the next best-selling author out there? And nobody raises their hand. And I'm like, well, if not you, then who? I mean,
that's right.
It's if not you, why not? That's part of why I really get into just be yourself and love yourself. And I always end my show with be you to the full, which is really what's beautiful, because once you become your authentic self, you kind of get out of your own way, if that makes sense. Because you are certain, why not you? You are more capable than James Von Prague or, John Edwards or anybody else you want to name. I mean, you've got thousands of clients. You've got a 2-year waiting list. What's wrong with you, Karen? What's wrong with you? No, I'm kidding.
I know,
and
I am so honored.
You know what?
I'm more honored. And when I go with the intention of how may I serve, that's when I feel wonderful and I don't have any self. When the ego gets in there,
right?
Then I start, why me, that type of thing.
Yeah, and
so
how am I going to do this, and is it going to go over, and what am I going to look like? Is it going to look funny, or is it going to, like when we started, we'd say, well, they're going to laugh at me if I say this came to me. And then we realized that it's serving them and helping them, so you can't, and really honestly, I can tell just by your energy, you are more than capable, and more than there's a reason you've been chosen. And it has to do with your open heart. You're real. Like, I think Wayne was real. You know?
Yeah. Thank you.
There's a lot of...
Go ahead.
There's a lot there's a lot of people out there that just do this for consumerism, like I said before.
Right.
So it's really important that it stay pure. And I think he knows that,
Well, let me tell you the beginning, how this whole thing started. As I was in Orlando, and I couldn't believe it. I said, Wayne, is that you? Because I've been doing this for years. I know how to do this. And I wanted to make sure. I said, Wayne, if it's really you, give me a sign. And when I got back to my hotel room, there was a sticker inside of my shirt that I didn't know what the heck it was. I went in and I grabbed it, and it was a circle. I started to cry. I said, W-E, and I thought it was Wayne. First letter, last letter. Sometimes I get that in messages. So I said, oh, that's wonderful. Little did I know, within the next few weeks, as I was going on my walks, every time I went for a walk with my dog, Wayne Dyer would come tell me what to tell his family, all these different things, and the we consciousness. Mm-hmm. So that was the W-E. I thought it was Wayne. So that was a biggie for me. So I carry that around with me all the time, the sticker.
Right.
It's about 3 inches It has nothing to do with my shirt, and it was actually, I had not been to Disney World before that. I went afterwards, but it was on the bottom, something from Disney World. How weird. How the heck did it get inside of my shirt? It was him.
It's him. There's a sign, and you're supposed to do this. And there's a lot you can do to help heal people through this method and your other work, too. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, too, is a method that you use going back just a little bit in through the eyes of another. There's a technique in that book that you give people to help them see the bigger picture of the way we're affecting those in our path.
Yes. What happens is, as I stated before, we go through a life review after we pass, and we're able to see how we've affected people. So I tell people, don't wait until it's too late to do that. The best way of doing that is to write a letter to your loved ones. And there's different types of letters, whether it be a letter of appreciation, a letter of forgiveness, asking forgiveness, or forgiving others,
right,
as well as a letter to yourself. Now, all of the letters are supposed to be very positive, loving letters. So if you're trying to forgive somebody, you don't say, you jerk, you did this to me. You're trying to see through the other person's eyes, as you will do after you pass, why did they do what they did to you? And try to understand it completely, like why they did it, and really get it, and understand it.
Okay, so
there
you're
was a
writing.
Woman I conducted. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. You're looking at it though from somebody else's perspective, not your own.
Yes, you're supposed to see through the other person's eyes, as you would do after you pass. So this letter writing, and I have different in the book itself talking about the different types of letters and what to include and how to do it, would be looking through the other person's eyes. For example, at the time that I was writing the book, I was going through a divorce, and I have 3 children. So I wrote letters to each of my children, as well as my ex-husband-to-be, and try to see through their eyes how this whole thing was affecting them. So it was a love letter trying to see through their eyes and saying, we never intended to hurt you, but we did nonetheless, and I tried to explain why things happened. Well, you can imagine my ex-husband was a lawyer, and here I am, a medium, two very opposite professions, and so that's why it didn't work out, but it was all out of love, and what a wonderful result I received after that. I wrote it to all of my children, and my daughter took that to a different level. And on my birthday, she did a video. She interviewed all the people in my life, all the close people, my children, my mom, even my pets. She had little blurbs and saying why they loved me. And, that's the kind of letters I write. Why do you love the other person? Tell them how much. Don't wait until it's too late. And it was the best gift I ever received. And even my mother has passed since she did that video, and I watch it over and over. My mom's telling me how much she loves. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I can't. Now, if they have passed, like let's say your mother, she passed, you were able to give her one in real life, but what if she had passed? Do you still write a letter to the person who's passed over?
As a matter of fact, it's one of the most important letters to write to. I wrote one to my friend Marion, and as I said before, the personality of the person when they were here on Earth, you retain that after you pass. So Marion was very loud, and Marion was very sarcastic, and I have to say this before I talk about the letter. So she passed away, and I wrote her a letter, how much I loved her and why. And at the end of the letter, I said, and Marion, please give me some without a doubt signs to let me know that you're aware of everything I've written to you. And what happened was 2 days later, I was walking down the steps in front of my house to put letters in my mailbox, and there's a bird in my driveway screaming at the top of its lungs, screaming. And I just looked at it. I knew it was Marion trying to come through, and I said, oh, my God, Marion, is that you? And the bird flew towards me and flew with me towards the mailbox and landed there. continued to scream. Birds don't do that normally. No. and I said, Marion, oh my God, I love you, Marion. And my neighbors were looking at me like I've lost it for sure, but I didn't care.
Right.
And I called my son. He was in the house, and I said, come out here, Marion's here. And he came out, and he witnessed the whole thing. And a few days later, a mutual friend of ours, Carol, she called me, and she said, what the heck is Marion doing? I know she just visited me. I just painted my kitchen, opened the sliding glass door, and a bird came flying in and pooped all over my walls. And she said, thanks a lot, Marion.
Oh.
So what I was saying is, yes, write a letter. That's the bottom. What I'm trying to say is, yes, write a letter to your deceased loved one.
Right.
And at the end of the letter, whether it be a letter of appreciation, of forgiveness, asking forgiveness or trying to forgive them, at the end of the letter, you're going to say something like, please give me a without a doubt sign to let me know without a doubt that you're aware of what I just wrote to you. And then watch out, because you will receive a message or a sign.
Just a without a doubt sign, and that's it.
Yes.
Right. That's very healing. Do you do anything with the letter when you're finished? You can give the letter to the people that are alive or mail it to someone who's far away, but the ones that have passed on, do you suggest burning it when you're done?
Yeah.
Or do you keep
you could
it?
have some kind of ceremony with it. You could just have it there and read it a few times, leave it there so as a piece of evidence of your love for your deceased loved one. I had a woman who did burn it and then buried it with the roses around her roses and something, so you could have some kind of ceremony with that. Release it in the ocean, something.
Right.
Just to let you know that your message is getting out there. But make sure you write at the end, give me a without a doubt sign to let me know you read this or you're aware of what I've written to you.
Right.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is, exactly. So do have these people that have passed, the people that you've connected with over the years in your experience, what have you learned? What's the most important thing you've learned?
That this is not all there is.
Yeah.
This is not something I think or believe. It's something I know without a doubt, that the spirit, the soul of who we are continues. This body is temporary. And most people think that the worst possible thing that could happen is if somebody passes away. Well, not for that person. It's for us, the ones who are still here on earth. We're grieving their loss. But those who have passed and have shed this body, they're in such peace and such love. It's beyond words. Can't even put it into words.
Right. Yeah, I believe that. I really do. So do you only get messages? Like, I know you were sitting with Wayne's daughter, though, in the bus when you got a message about that.
Well, no, I didn't get it at that particular time. She felt connected to me.
Oh, so
shared with her sister Sage, who lives in Manhattan. Sage contacted me, connected, came here, and she said she scheduled an appointment, and then she emailed me and said, could Serena, Sky, and Marceline come as well? I said, of course they can. Boy, was I nervous, though, I have to tell you.
Oh, well, he orchestrated all of this.
I know.
From another place. So I wouldn't argue with that either. I feel like, of course.
Wow.
Yeah. But is it easier, though, when you connect with most of your clients, when you're connecting with those on the other side, do you need them there for you to do you ever get messages that are random besides Wayne Dyer? Like your friend's grandmother. She just
Okay. Oh yes, that happens often, but when I started receiving messages, I don't know if this is what you're asking, but it happened too often. I'd tried to go to sleep and I'd open my eyes and somebody was standing there.
Right,
spirit.
that's exactly where I'm going. Yes.
Right. I had to set boundaries and said only when it's an emergency or the intention is there is when, because I have to live my life as well.
Right.
And it seemed to stop for the most part. The one time right after that incident, long story short, but there was a young boy who was missing. And I said, just let me know. And the mother came to see me. and I said to the boy who had crossed, if they find you, you let me know at the time that they find you, and I'll call your mom right away. Mm-hmm. And I was in the middle of talking to my ex-husband. I was still married at the time, and my son, and he started coming through. They found my body. Call my mom now. Call my mom now. So in the midst of that, I called his mom, and they just had found his body in the water, and I went over to see her. But other than that, when there's an emergency or the intention is there, and when I'm not nervous.
Right.
So I
you interpreted my little sort of mixed up question there. That's exactly what I was trying to ask. And so thank you. But yeah, because they can, if you don't set boundaries. I mean, if you're a conduit for that kind of thing, it can come through any which way, walking down the street, and that can be really...
so you have to turn yourself off a little bit. So you...
Right. I even do that with my own intuitive abilities, because I don't need to know that the waitress is sleeping with her, friend's boyfriend. Her friend's husband. It'll come through, and I'm like, okay, I don't need to know that. Nobody here. And I also kind of don't give people information unless they ask.
See, that's very important too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Mm-hmm.
Some intuitives or psychics, they just come out and they're in the supermarket and they'll just say, "Oh, I see this," and I can't do that.
I think that there's sort of a code. I think that we need to keep it to ourselves unless we're asked. Like, I won't even do a healing for a person if someone asks me to do a healing on somebody they know. I always tell them, what, I need them to ask or give me permission, because I think it's a violation for me to just do something to somebody when they don't even know, I mean, that's...
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
And people do that all the time. Like, even, will you pray for somebody? I don't, there's nothing... I mean, I still think even then, I kind of, do they know I'm praying for them? Because I want them to know even if it's something as simple as a prayer.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's very true.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, some people benefit from either being sick or... for whatever reason, maybe they're on disability or they're getting attention from their family or whatever it is. So if we're sending prayers for healing or whatever it is, and their subconscious doesn't want to heal, they don't want to heal.
Right.
We're infringing our will on theirs. Right.
Right. Also, or if there's a lesson that they're supposed to be learning from that, and then it's not, we fix it for them, it doesn't help their path.
Exactly.
My feeling is we're not here to police anybody else's path. The source, God, the universe can do that just fine without me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
I don't police other people's paths. Like, if they say, he did this to me, he needs this and that to happen to him. Well, you know what? Don't ask me, because I'm staying out of that one.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right. Now, when you do healings, how do you use a particular method, or do you just heal through being with somebody and feeling their energy energetically?
Yeah. So what happens when somebody comes to see me, it's a little different than most psychics. What I do is I do receive messages. Of course, that's probably why they're coming to see me, but at the same time, the fact is, the loved one who is coming through from the other side is okay. It's the living loved one who is not. So I'm doing healing on that person, whether it be Reiki, which is energy healing, or whether we do techniques such as tapping, the emotional freedom technique, to move the energy of the grief out, or whether it be Ho'oponopono, to help them to heal on a higher level, or any other method. I show them different techniques to protect themselves from, like you and my both of us, we have to protect ourselves before we go into large groups of people in Manhattan. I do something called the Celtic Weave. That's Donna Eden wrote about that in her book, Energy Medicine, I believe it was. But it's wonderful. It protects your aura. So I teach people how to do that. So we do different techniques, like, because we're mind, body, spirit, it's not just the body.
Right.
It's the energy around the body and clearing chakras and things like that.
Right. Okay, well, this has been really fascinating. I'm so glad I got to meet you. This is
I'm
awesome.
so glad, too.
There's no accidents in life, I think.
Absolutely.
I don't, everybody meets everybody for a reason. Okay, so Karen, I just want you to tell everybody again how they can find you and about your radio show and your website.
Okay, they could find me on my website, KarenNoe.com. That's KarenNoe.com. And everything's on my website, whether it be classes and my radio show. But my radio show is the first Saturday of every month. It is a local show, but it plays the whole world over. It's www.WRCR.com, WRCR.com, and that's at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on the first Saturday of the month.
Wow. Can people call in?
Yes, depending on the show.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking of doing that. I'm having Marceline and Sage Dyer on the Saturday. What is it? Next Saturday.
Well, yeah.
And people may be able to call in. It depends on how much time we have left.
Yeah, this Saturday is the first Saturday of the month. So
yes, it is.
That's great. I know normally they can call in and ask questions for my guests on my show when I'm live on Sundays at 6 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time. This is a recorded show only because of Mother's Day. So.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because normally they can call in, but it can be if you've got, a limited amount of time, because like with you, I'm just honored and thrilled because I could talk to you for hours.
So, I could talk to you for hours too.
Yeah. No, so that's great. So the show is this Saturday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time.
And that's WRCR.com, and you just click on Listen Live.
Listen Live. And all of your books are on your website as well?
Yes.
And
you could purchase them on Amazon, or it's all on my website.
Right. And they're all Hay House books, correct?
The last two and the next one that I'm writing are Hay House books. The first one, The Rainbow Follows the Storm, that was Blue Dolphin.
Oh, okay. All right. Otherwise, we know where to find you. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I think this has been an awesome show, and I really appreciate you being on. Thank you so much, Karen, and they all know where to find you, and I hope I meet you and get to know you better on some other level someday, sometime.
Sounds wonderful. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was Karen Noe. She's awesome. I'm thrilled to have had her on the show. I can't believe what she's doing with Wayne Dyer's children and carrying his message on in time. And that's exactly, sounds just like something Wayne would do. Just, have everyone continue and keep his message alive and awesome. Anyway, Karen Noe can be found on her website. Again, all her information is on KarenNoe.com, KarenNoe.com. Like I said, this is a recorded show, and next week will also probably be a recorded show because I'll be traveling, and then I'll be back with some awesome guests and live call-ins once again, probably for most of the summer. If you need any information about me, check out my website. It's ServetHassan.com, ServetHassan.com. All three of my books for Llewellyn Worldwide Publishers is on there, including the latest one, which is the award-winning Life in Transition. So if you're going through any kind of transition in life, and who isn't, most of us are, it's really a helpful book. Lots of good exercises in there. And I've also have 2 chapters in Llewellyn's complete book of mindful living, which just came out this month. So if you haven't read it, that's a really awesome read. There's some really good authors in there along with me. Jack Canfield's has an article. Michael Beckwith, I think, Michael Bernard Beckwith has a great meditation in there. There's lots of really, really useful and helpful information. I also have a YouTube channel, so if you miss any of these shows, I upload them onto YouTube, not immediately, but they do get up on there, and all the shows I've done so far, except for last Sunday, which was Francis Greenspan, the animal communicator. I got a ton of calls on that one. That's going to be up on the website, on the YouTube channel today. And it's just Servet Hassan channel on YouTube. My blog is Memos from My Higher Self that are going to be books, monthly books for January, because I post every day. So there'll be a book for January and February, March. And April already, because we're into May, and those will be coming out soon on Amazon. I'm also writing a book called Intuitive Ink, which is the name of this show. So that's going to be all about unlocking your creative genius. That's going to be, I'm just starting that. So I'll give you more information on that as I go along. We're also available for private sessions too, psychic readings, spiritual counselings. And basically what I try to do is get people unstuck, because normally there's something, clairvoyant insights that I get are usually about what's keeping people from getting where they want to go and being who they want to be. You can go on my website, servethassan.com, for more information about all of that. I always say this show is for you, so if you have any comments or any questions or anything you'd like to suggest, please reach out to me at let me start again. Servet, who's me? Servet at servethassan.org is how you can reach me via email. I'm also on Facebook, and we've got a great show next week. Like I said, tune in if you can. Be you to the full, because that's what's beautiful. I've been talking about that since day one, and every show I try to incorporate that a little bit. It's all about loving yourself and being your most authentic, best self that you can be, because then you get out of your own way and everything sort of happens the way it's supposed to in we consciousness, as Karen was talking about. We're all connected, and we're all connected to that divine source that can do anything. It can keep planets in the air and turn little baby embryos into people. Then it can do anything. So be you to your fullest, and that's truly what's beautiful and what makes things happen in our lives. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you continue to do so. I really do. I'm here for you. I'm here to serve. I'm trying to make everybody's life a better life than it was before they heard the show, just to help people be more of who they can be. Thanks a lot. It's Servet Hassan, Intuitive Ink. Tune in again soon. Thank you.